Good, happy Monday morning, January 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Monday morning edition of Good Morning, New Hampshire. Rise and shine, everyone. Let's get this Monday off to a good start. And sit back, relax, and enjoy this Monday morning edition of Good Morning, New Hampshire. And today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We're gonna begin now with your local news, business news, and national news. Let's start with the local news. First up, raging fire tears through Belmont barn. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Ray Brewer.
This economy is not working for most of us. There is not one county in the United States of America where someone working full-time at the minimum wage can afford a two-bedroom apartment. The biggest problem in our economy is simple. People are not getting paid enough.
Hot, heavy flames were pouring from the building on CV Road the moment first responders arrived on the scene.
When we first got here, the barn was fully involved. It was getting into the L.
As many as 40 firefighters from 15 local communities were called in to help the Belmont crews fight the fire. The task not made any easier by the weather.
It's very hard on our crews with the cold, the temperatures, obviously the icy conditions as well.
While the weather may not have been on the side of firefighters, the chief says they did have some things work out in their favor.
The house appeared to be vacant. Right now we're fortunate. This is one of our hydrant areas, so water hasn't been a problem.
It made for the end of a very busy weekend for Belmont firefighters.
This is our second multi-alarm fire in 2 days, so the crews are getting pretty tired.
A barn and home on Brown Hill Road suffering extensive damage Saturday evening. The State Fire Marshal's office on the scene throughout the day Sunday trying to figure out a cause. But the chief says the two fires do not appear to be connected at this time.
Two separate owners, two separate properties, and we got nothing that connects the two of them together.
Okay, and there you go. And we're gonna switch gears now. Let's go into business news. In your business news, all NYSE markets observe U.S. holidays. The New York Stock Exchange and U.S. market is closed today for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And now let's go into your national news. In national news, President Trump defeat as impeachment trial about to begin. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
For the historic week in the impeachment of President Trump, the trial is set to essentially begin on Tuesday, and tonight the president heading back to Washington after his lawyers released their first legal argument, calling the case against him, quote, illegitimate and dangerous, while House Democrats were preparing to make their case, meeting in Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office. ABC's David Wright is in West Palm Beach, Florida with more.
President Trump has made clear his disdain for the impeachment process, but this weekend, Trump's lawyers filed his first formal response. This 6-page letter blasting the House impeachment effort as poisonous partisanship, a lawless process, arguing nothing in these articles could permit even beginning to consider removing a duly elected president.
Is it your position that President Trump should not be impeached even if all the evidence and arguments laid out by the House are accepted as fact?
That's right. Former Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz just joined the president's defense team. His past clients include Jeffrey Epstein, O.J. Simpson, and Klaus von Bülow. Dershowitz claims that abuse of power is not grounds for impeachment.
Half of American presidents have been accused by their political enemies of abusing their power. The framers didn't want to have that kind of criteria in the Constitution because it weaponizes impeachment for partisan purposes.
Abuse of power is at the center of what the framers intended an impeachable offense to be. The mere idea of this would have appalled the founders who were worried about exactly that kind of solicitation of foreign interference in an election for a personal benefit.
One major sticking point at the start of this trial is the issue of witnesses, after the White House refused to cooperate with the House investigation.
If my argument succeeds, there's no need for witnesses. Indeed, there's no need for even argument.
Senate Republicans plan to postpone the witness issue until after House managers present their case and the president responds, as was done in the Clinton impeachment.
I'm going to vote against calling the 4 witnesses requested by Senator Schumer. They're all covered by executive privilege. They're part of the national security team of the president. They could have been called in the House. They chose not to.
If Senator McConnell prevails and there are no witnesses, it will be the first impeachment trial in history that goes to conclusion without witnesses.
David Wright joins us now from West Palm Beach, where the president was spending the weekend. And David, the trial essentially begins on Tuesday, but they still haven't announced the rules yet.
That's right, Tom, and one of the first things we can expect is a fight over the rules. The Democrats are determined to hear from new witnesses, and they want to see additional documents. Republicans are pushing back on that. They want a quick trial, and they're eager to get straight to the House's case. Tom?
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into weather and traffic. We're going to begin with the weather first. A cold, chilly start to your week. With more on that, let's take a listen to this weather video from meteorologist Haley LaPointe.
The greed and corruption undermining our democracy is bigger than one man, and so is the solution. We will make billionaires pay their fair share, provide better wages, and equal pay for women. The future doesn't belong to Trump, it belongs to us.
Here's a look at your updated forecast. I'm meteorologist Haley LaPointe. We're feeling the winter chill right now as the temperatures will only be in the teens and 20s, and with a breeze kicking up through the day, we'll feel even colder than that. But excellent ski days with the fresh snow that we received over the weekend, and temperatures that have been cold enough to even make a little bit of snow if they've needed to. Ski resorts enjoying all of this, and skiers and boarders enjoying it too with the sun and cooler temperatures. Very quiet weather pattern continues as we go through into the work week. In fact, we don't have any threat of any snow or rain showers until next weekend. So today, a lot of sun, temperatures ranging from about 13 in Whitefield to 22 Concord, 25 degrees in Manchester, 27 in the Portsmouth area later this afternoon. So the next couple of days, we're below average, which for this time in January is about 30 degrees. So our high temperatures feeling a little on the chilly side in the 20s. Slowly, we'll start to see a warming trend, though, and by the end of the week, we're back up into the low 40s. Big area of high pressure over the eastern half of the United States, so it's actually very quiet. Even as you look back towards Chicago, the Twin Cities, and the middle part of the United States, it's just cold with the air direction coming right out of the north. So that means temperatures, at least for the next couple of days, below the average and in the 20s for the most part. Here's the ski and board forecast, if that's what you're planning to do on this Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Temperatures in the single digits for the first runs, but then as you go through to the afternoon in the teens, but with the little breeze kicking up, it'll feel a bit colder than that. So it's a day you need probably the face covers and even the warmers in your gloves. That'd be a good idea. But look at this, a lot of sun as we go through the week here. A frigid start tomorrow morning with many of us sub-zero. Not as cold on Wednesday with temperatures right around freezing. We'll go into the 40s on Thursday, Friday. And then tracking the next storm system for next weekend. It looks like late Saturday night into Sunday, the chance of some mix and snow or rain on Sunday. That's something we'll be keeping track of throughout the week.
Okay, and there you go on that from meteorologist Haley LaPointe. Now let's go into your traffic. And here's a look at that traffic for all of you this morning on your traffic map. And as you can see, we're seeing a lot of green roadways, and we have a few yellow spots around here, and a few yellow spots down here, and over here, and over here. But not too bad for traffic this Monday morning start, and probably not a lot of people on the roadways, like schools are off today due to Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. So some people have the day off and some people do not. So traffic really not too bad for this holiday. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into New Hampshire life. Let's take a look at your event calendar for this Monday. MLK Full Day Adventure School Break Adventure, 8:30 a.m. at Guard Up, Inc. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, 9 o'clock a.m. at the Children's Museum of New Hampshire. Tinkering with Toys, Build a Truck, 11 o'clock a.m. at the Discovery Museum. Try Rugby Free Workout, 12 p.m. at New Hampshire Sportsplex. Open Paint, 12 p.m. The Canvas Road Show. Cat Connection, 4 p.m. at the Animal Adventure Rescue and Family Zoo. And that is a look at your event calendar for this Monday. We will check it out for Good Evening, New Hampshire. So as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast and throughout the broadcast, we said today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Let's talk about that holiday and how it came to be. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, officially birthday of Martin Luther King Jr., and sometimes referred to as MLK Day, is an American federal holiday, making the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. It is observed on the third Monday of January each year. King's birthday is January 15th. The holiday is similar to holidays set under the Uniform Monday Holiday Act. The earliest Monday for this holiday is January 15th, and the least is January 21st. King was a chief spokesperson for narrative activism in the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, History Channel. Let's watch that video right now.
On a hot day in August 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a speech that would define the civil rights movement and his legacy. This, of course, was his I Have a Dream speech, delivered on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
The March on Washington served as a massive push for economic and political justice for African Americans. Held during the year celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation, crowds marched on the National Mall to watch a variety of musical performances and speeches. Dr. King, a Baptist preacher and prominent civil rights leader, was scheduled to speak towards the end of the day, his debut on the national stage. Up until that point, King mostly addressed small crowds at black churches, rallies, or fundraisers. This time, he would be seen by nearly 250,000 people on the ground, as well as millions at home watching on television. This was an opportunity to reach a wide audience and persuade the public and the government to take action against racial injustice. The night before, King worked with a close group of advisors to get the speech just right. They worked through the night, settling on a final draft in the pre-dawn hours of August 28. Interestingly, the phrase, "I have a dream," a phrase he used in earlier speeches, was nowhere to be found in this copy. The words wouldn't manifest until almost halfway into Dr. King's speech, when gospel singer Mahalia Jackson, who had performed earlier in the day, called out to him from the sidelines to tell them about the dream. King set his prepared remarks aside and improvised the rest, crafting a soaring speech that would sear into the minds of millions of Americans.
No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
The speech was divided into two parts. The first listed the injustices that African Americans faced: segregation, police brutality, disenfranchisement, and discrimination, and urged a call to nonviolent action. The second launched into King's dream of peace and racial harmony, a vision of a future in which people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I have a dream.
Highlighting King's skills as a preacher, I Have a Dream was part sermon and part poetry, using rhetorical devices like repetition, rhyme, and vivid metaphor to drive his points home. It was peppered with historic, biblical, and literary references that moved the crowd. This message of struggle and hope became the defining moment not only of King's career, but also the civil rights movement. Both the speech and the March on Washington were credited with helping secure the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a landmark piece of legislation that ended segregation and banned discrimination on the basis of race or sex in the workplace.
Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty! We are free at last!
The speech also resonated with activists around the globe. I have a dream. The phrase that wasn't even meant to be in his final draft appeared in political actions all around the world. It's considered one of the world's most transformative and influential speeches, alongside others like Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address and Winston Churchill's Blood, Toil, Tears, and Sweat. I Have a Dream is only one of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s many achievements, but it's nonetheless one of the most pivotal.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
Okay, and there you go. And, yesterday on Sunday, there were a couple of events honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Interfaith ceremony in Portsmouth honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Religious leaders representing a wide variety of faiths come together. Let's take a listen to that video from WNUR News 9, Tim Callery.
Most valuable pooper with Poopery. Poopery works by creating...
Senator Jean Shaheen was among the speakers at Sunday night's Martin Luther King Jr. Interfaith Service. She was governor of New Hampshire when state legislators voted to recognize Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a holiday starting in 2000.
It was a long time coming, and I think today is a memory of everything that legislation stands for, opening doors of opportunity.
Through song and prayer, people of all religions gathered in tribute of Dr. King.
Really, his dream was rooted in this belief not just in the God of Christianity, but a God for all people.
King had an extraordinary power of speaking in ways that made everyone feel included.
I felt very much filled with awe. Being in his presence, truly a modern-day prophet.
Rabbi Ira Corino met Dr. King when he was a sophomore in high school. It's a conversation he says he'll never forget.
We really have to take his message seriously and work together to make our world a better place.
A message people here vow to continue for generations to come. And tomorrow is considered a day of service in honor of Dr. King. There are several other events that are expected to be held around the state, including in Manchester, Hollis, and more are planned here in Portsmouth. Reporting in Portsmouth, I'm Tim Callery, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that is your history lesson on Martin Luther King Jr. And let's go into entertainment news. And entertainment news, 2020 SAG Awards, all the history-making moments and passionate speeches. Let's take a look from Access Hollywood.
Feet, Margaret Qualley's feet, Dakota Fanning's feet. Seriously, Quentin has separated more women from their shoes than the TSA.
Okay, and there you go. And did you watch the 2020 SAG Awards last night? If you did, let us know and tell us what your favorite moments were during last night. Comment below and let us know. We want to hear from you. And now let's take a look at those celebrity birthdays for today and see which celebrities are celebrating a birthday today. And happy birthday to all of these celebrities. We hope they all have a wonderful birthday and a wonderful day. And that does it for this edition of Good Morning New Hampshire. I hope you all enjoyed watching this Monday morning edition of Good Morning New Hampshire. Have a great Monday, everyone, and I'll see you back here next time for another edition of Good Morning New Hampshire. Have a great day and goodbye.